Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys my everyday makeup, and this varies from time to time. Sometimes I add a little bit more, sometimes I simplify it. It just really depends on what I'm doing that day. If I'm just running errands or going out really quick, I usually keep it pretty simplified. If I'm going to be out for a little bit longer, then I might add a few things here and there, but essentially this is the simplified version of my everyday makeup. We're going to start off with skincare because that is important. As you can see, and if you have been following me for a while, you know that I have acne-prone skin and very sensitive skin. It has improved, which I have said that maybe I will make a video on what I've been using and what I've been eating, essentially to kind of help tone it down a little bit. I do still get a lot of breakout around my chin and jaw area because I do have hormonal acne as an adult. That's for a different day, different video. But regardless, I'm gonna go through my skincare of what I use in the morning. Again, my nighttime routine is a little bit different from my morning routine. Usually my nighttime routine is a little bit heavier, has more products, but for my morning routine, I keep it quite simple. First, I start off with rose water. It looks just like water, but it is rose water, and I usually keep this in the fridge, keep it cool, and I use it as a toner. So I'm gonna just spray that all over my face. So I'm just gonna let that, soak into my skin. Next, I go in with a moisturizer. Now, this is the moisturizer I'm currently using right now. It's the Clinique Very Dry to Dry Combination Moisturizer. However, I don't know if I would recommend this for girlies who have really dry skin. I have a combination, it's like oily and dry. So even myself, I prefer a heavier moisturizer, but this is the only one we have and I wanted to try it out. Also, it is a little bit on the pricier side, so I do think there are better options out there. An alternative skin moisturizer I would recommend is this one. I know everything's backwards because I'm filming with my front-facing camera, but this is the Aromatica Comforting Calendula Juicy Cream, and I've advocated for this for so long. Again, none of my products are sponsored. Everything is paid with my own money. I review products cheap and expensive, and I give you guys my real opinion on it. I'm usually pretty brutally honest about how I feel about a product, especially as a smaller content creator. Nothing is sponsored, trust me. So this is one that I would recommend. It is a Korean brand, so it is quite hard to find. You can find it on YesStyle, or there's a website called Peach Lily, I think, in the US where you can order it from as well. The problem is that it's always sold out, so it's very hard to find. This is an empty bottle, I'm out, but personally I love this cream. It's cheaper than the Clinique one. I think this one is usually around $28 to $30, and the Clinique one is like $40 to $60, and I find that the Aromatica one is way more moisturizing and just overall like better for my skin type. Both of them are good for sensitive skin because they don't have fragrance in them, which for me is a big factor. My face skin is allergic to fragrance, so if I put any type of fragrance on my face, I will break out like crazy, and it's just, it just doesn't work for me. So I always try to shoot for products that don't have fragrance in them. Depending on your skin type, there could be many reasons why a moisturizer is good for you. If it's fragrance, like if you're also allergic to fragrance or fragrance makes you break out, both very good options. I would just say the cheaper one, the Aromatica one, is just a little bit thicker and more moisturizing and cheaper. And the Clinique one, I would say it's not as moisturizing, and so that's why I'm not recommending like this as your first choice, because it's really expensive and it's not that moisturizing. I will say it's still good, it's just not great, if that makes sense, for my girlies who are really dry. But I would say that this is a good option for if you want like a light moisturizer, something a little bit thinner and not as thick. That's also an option because I know some people prefer a thinner moisturizer so it's not feeling like heavy and clogging. So it just really depends on your skin type. Regardless, I am gonna go in with it because this is the only moisturizer I have right now. So it comes out like yellow, like this, And so I'm just gonna put that. I actually just put a lot. You don't usually need this much, but because I said it's pretty thin, I do like to do a few passes. So I'll do like a first pass, and then I'll do like a second pass to kind of just layer it a little bit more. Especially because, as I said, I have really, really dry skin. Like down here, and then my forehead is always really oily, so I do like to layer on the moisturizer. One, because obviously your makeup is just gonna lay a lot better if your skin is moisturized, and essentially moisturizer is like a form of primer in a way. I also don't use makeup primer. I know a lot of people like to use primer and they live for primer, and it makes a really big difference for a lot of people. But I'm not gonna lie, like historically, I've never really been a fan of primer. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just not a fan of it. I think the reason why I don't really like using makeup primer is because my skin kind of like gets irritated by it sometimes, and it also makes me feel like I have even more stuff on my face, and it just feels, I don't know, I just don't like the feeling of primer. I guess I'll keep it at that. So I essentially just try to make sure that my skin is very moisturized. Normally after moisturizer I will go in with sunscreen. However, I am working from home today because I also have a full-time job, so right now YouTube is kind of just a side thing. And I'm also going back to school, so a lot of things happening, different topic. But essentially, I would usually go in with sunscreen, especially if you're going out. Sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. I know you guys hear it all the time. Do not skip on your sunscreen. It makes a huge difference. You know, if you're going out without sunscreen, you're gonna age faster, you're gonna get wrinkles faster, your dark spots are gonna get darker, your acne, scars, and your hyperpigmentation is gonna get even darker and just more stubborn too. Your hyperpigmentation is just going to be even harder to lighten if you're going out in the sun and exposing it without any sunscreen. What I will say is I hear that Korean sunscreen is a lot better than the US. Not sure, never been to Korea, but I don't doubt it. But either way, I am in the US, and I know there are sunscreens you can get from Korean brand. One I would recommend, it's not Korean I don't think, but a sunscreen I would recommend is Supergoop. Right now I'm using the Neutrogena one, and I don't really love it. It kind of gives like a white cast, and it's just not my favorite consistency. However, this is only one I have, so that's what I've been using. But a good option is Supergoop. That one is a little bit more of a glass skin finish, but it just really depends on what you like. Neutrogena has more of a matte finish, and Supergoop has more of a glowy finish. However, some people don't really like that sticky, glowy feeling, so maybe this is a good option for you. However, it's just really up to you. So this Neutrogena sunscreen is 50 broad spectrum SPF 50. I will show you guys what I'm kind of saying, where it gives like sort of a white cast, and it's a little bit hard to blend. I mean, I did put quite a lot on my hand, but you know, it just doesn't blend as seamlessly as I would like. And like I said, I don't love the finish of it. I don't know. It's just not the best, but also not the worst. You know, it still works. It's just not my favorite. Again, like I said, it really depends on your preference. Some people like more of a matte finish, so this does have like more of a dry finish, which I don't prefer. I want my skin to be very moisturized, and I just feel like this doesn't moisturize as well, although it is a sunscreen, so it's not really meant to be a moisturizer, but you get my point. There's just better sunscreens out there. But as you can see, yeah, it kind of gives like a white cast, so I don't love it, but I still use it because that's the only one I have. And like I said, sunscreen is important, so you gotta use something. But as I mentioned, we are not gonna use sunscreen today because I am working from home, so sadly I don't get to see the sun as much as I would like. But if I was going out, that would be my steps. Toner, moisturizer, and then sunscreen for my morning routine. We're gonna get into the makeup. So I like to powder my eyes a little bit, especially because I just think, I don't know, I just think that because we just use the sunscreen and all those face products, my eyelid can be a little bit oily from that, so I like to kind of powder it down. Right now I'm using the Ilia setting powder, finishing powder, and I like this brand because they are suitable for someone who has sensitive skin and who is also allergic to fragrance. So this product doesn't have any fragrance in it. I've been using it for a while and it's pretty good. So I kind of dab that on to this brush, and I just go in and powder the eyes a little bit so it's not that oily before I start any eye makeup. Next, I'm gonna go in and do some eye makeup. Now, I don't really have a preferred method of what I do first. Sometimes I do my eye makeup first, sometimes I do my skin makeup first, sometimes I do it interchangeably. It just really, I don't know, it just really depends on my mood. I will say I do prefer to do my skin makeup last, in most cases, only because especially if I'm doing a heavy eyeshadow look, I don't want any fallout, and I know we know how annoying all of that is when you're doing your eyeshadow and then you have fallout and it's just, then you go to wipe it or something accidentally and you know, you just smear all the work that you've done. Right now I'm using this eyeliner. It's Tahari eyeliner, and I bought this at TJ Maxx, I believe, or Ross, I don't remember which one, but it's not my favorite. I will say it's just, you'll see. So it's kind of like an ashy color, you see this, and it's just not super pigmented. It's kind of blotchy. It wipes off really easily. It's just not my favorite. However, I'm going to be using it today because I don't have my other eyeliner. A good alternative is the NYX eyeliner. The NYX, I don't remember where it is, but I think I'm out right now. But that would be my other favorite eyeliner if we're talking about regular eyeliner, not liquid eyeliner. The NYX eyeliner would be a good option. However, we're gonna work with this one. So I sometimes go in with black eyeliner and other times I do brown eyeliner as well. So it just really depends on my mood that day. But essentially you're gonna start drawing and like a line, and you don't have to be super precise with this because I'm gonna clean it up with a Q-tip. So I kind of just start drawing a line from my eye. And this is another reason why I don't love this eyeliner. I just think the application is a little bit difficult, you could say. It's just not your best option. So you're probably like, why are you showing me this? Well, it's the only eyeliner I currently have right now, so I'm just gonna use it. Well, technically, it's not the only eyeliner I have, but I don't really feel like digging into my makeup to find an eyeliner, so I'm just gonna work with it. So essentially, I like to kind of bring it into the middle of my eye like this, and then I like to clean it up. So as you can see, it's kind of messy, like this. We're gonna take a Q-tip and kind of clean it up a little bit. As you can see, I try to follow the shape of my eye. Now, I will say sometimes I do kind of turn the wing up a little bit, but I've been trying this new thing where you just kind of follow the shape of your eye a little bit more. And so I'm gonna go in with the Q-tip. I like to wet the end of it. And I kind of just start here and I swipe it up like this to kind of make it a little bit skinnier and not as fat at the end. And then what I also do is, you see how on the top it's not quite skinny right here, it's like you can clearly see the line. I kind of just try to wipe a tad off of the front like this. And then what I usually do is I'll go in with an eyeshadow to kind of create more of a defined crease. As you can see, I have Asian eyes, and my eyes, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't have much of a defined crease. Like, I do have a crease, but it's not quite defined, and I have a lot of space between my eyebrows and my eyes. So I've been doing this for years, but I essentially like to go in and create a fake crease. I don't know if you want to say it's a fake crease, but essentially it's like a fake crease. So you can use any eyeshadow palette you want. Sometimes I use this it's really cheap LA palette. However, it is not the best. I will say it's not the best, but it still works. I will say it still works. It's just not as good as my Doja Cat palette that I've been using for like forever. I'm pretty sure at this point it's probably expired, which I know can be dangerous if there's mold and stuff, but I've had this palette for forever and there's no mold. It's literally still in top condition. Never had any issues with it. But regardless, sometimes I don't use this because it's literally just so hard to open and it's just a pain. So I'm just going to go in with my normal palette. So you're going to go in with like a light brown shade and then darken it up a little bit. So I usually like to go in with this like light brown shade. I start to create like a fake crease. So I will start at the end here and just bring it in like so. I did kind of put a little bit too much, but you're gonna blend it out a little bit. Just start creating like a fake crease. I sometimes tail it out at the end, but sometimes that look is a little bit too intense, so I don't always do it. Just blend it in. You don't have to be perfect with this because Q-tips are my best friend. Q-tips or tape. Like if I'm doing a heavy makeup look, I will use tape at the end. I mean, you can buy like those, you know, eyeshadow stickers or whatever, but honestly, you can just use tape. I mean, there's no need to spend an extra few bucks on eyeshadow tape when you literally can just use regular Scotch tape. It works just the same. But regardless, so you can already see that this right eye already has so much more definition than this one. Of course, it looks a little bit silly. Like if I'm looking down, it does look kind of silly, but if I'm looking straight at the camera or straight at someone, it looks good in my opinion. I don't know if I'm just delusional, but I've been literally doing this for years, just creating a fake, more defined eye crease to kind of make my eyes look bigger. But yeah, essentially you just do that shade, and then I'm gonna go in with the darker brown shade, just a tad, and you do wanna like take some excess off because you don't want it to be so dark. And what I do with the darker shade is I focus more on the end with that one, so I kind of like go in and blend it in at the end and then bring it inwards like so. And I think I actually put a little too much, but you're gonna essentially blend that in from the end to the middle. And sometimes I don't do the best job at blending, so the lines look kind of harsh, but I'm trying to blend it as much as I can right now. So I think that's good. So that's what we have for the eyes. What I'm gonna do next is, like I said, I kind of go, my steps are kind of interchangeable, like one thing here, one thing there. But next, I'm going to go in and spot treat with this concealer. I am one of those girls who says they don't use foundation, but then they end up using concealer as foundation. Literally, that's me. I just really don't love foundation. I don't like putting it all over my face. It just feels thick and heavy. I will say I also don't like having concealer all over my face, but if I were to choose between the two, for instance, if I'm doing like full coverage, I will use concealer as a foundation and kind of do blend it all over my face. But I don't know. I don't really know how to explain why I do that, but I don't know. At this point, I'm just contradicting myself. Essentially, I'll just say that I do like using concealer as a foundation. But on my everyday makeup, I don't put it all over my face. If I'm going out and doing a heavier look, I will use it as foundation. However, for an everyday look, I kind of just spot treat, for instance, like my acne areas, and then I will blend it in with my fingers. Now, if I'm doing a full coverage, like all over, then what I will do is I will use a brush. I used to hate using brushes and beauty blenders, but recently I've been using a brush when I do full coverage, and it actually works quite well. I will say I'm still not a fan of the beauty blender because I just feel like, I don't know if anyone else feels similar, but I just feel like when you have a lot of things you're trying to cover, the beauty blender just takes the makeup off. Like it just soaks it all up and wipes it away. So I will say use clean fingers or a brush is a better option. That's just my opinion. But essentially, I go in with the first pass to kind of just blend it, especially like my upper, like on top of my whatever this is called. I blend some there, and then on the acne or darker areas, I also put some there as a first pass, and I'll kind of blend it into my skin. And then what I'll do is I will also, once I do the first pass, I will put a little bit there and kind of just let it sit. Now, of course, there is a better way to cover up acne with color correction. Or I shouldn't say acne. I guess you could say acne or hyperpigmentation. You can always do like the color correction, like a green or whatever color underneath to kind of mask it a little bit more. But for everyday makeup, I will say like I'm not as worried about covering stuff. I think it's okay. Like if you have acne or hyperpigmentation, I think it's okay to just have it shine through a little bit. Because I also feel like when you're trying too hard to cover something, especially acne, it's still gonna show through. And I feel like the more you try to cover it, the more apparent it is, especially because acne does have texture to it. So you're never gonna like fully cover the acne, if that makes sense. It's just gonna look super cakey and it's just gonna show it even more. So I don't mind a little bit of the acne color hyperpigmentation coming through. I will let this sit there for a little bit before I blend it, just to let it get a little bit tackier. So I don't know how to explain it, but if you're trying to cover specific spots, just do a first pass and then do a little dot there with your concealer and let it sit for a little bit and blend it out at the end. I literally chipped my nails trying to open this freaking palette. But essentially, as you can see, my eyebrows are very sparse. I will say my eyebrow hairs are very long, but they're very sparse, especially towards the tail end of my eyebrow. If you guys remember, back in the 2000s, like for forever, but even when it was 2010 to 2014, skinny eyebrows were a thing. So when I was in high school, I used to tweeze my eyebrows to the point of non-existence. So I do think a lot of that affected my eyebrows. I know I've heard before and read before that if you over tweeze your eyebrows, you kind of start to not grow hair there anymore. And so towards the end, I don't have that much hair towards the end. I've been trying to grow it back with eyebrow serum, so it's slowly working, but essentially my eyebrows are very sparse. So what I like to do is I like to go in with like a taupe gray color, not black, because black will just make it too dark, but I like to go in with like a taupe eyeshadow, and I like to kind of like fill it in a little bit before I go in with my other products. So I just dab a little bit on this little eyebrow thing. Or it's not even an eyebrow thing, like this eyeshadow stick. I forget what these are called. But I go in and I kind of just give it some shading a little bit first. Especially towards the end. And my eyebrow shape is also kind of weird, but I try to follow the shape of my eyebrows. Let's just say that. So you can already see the difference from this side to this side just with eyeshadow. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I kind of just leave it like this. However, I sometimes go in next with an eyebrow gel. So this is the one I've been using. It's from Shein. It's the SheGlam eyebrow gel, and it's actually pretty good. I will say it's probably not like the best you can find on the market. However, it's pretty cheap and it actually works surprisingly well. Because the other thing is, my eyebrows, they grow in all different directions. Some of them are going up, some of them are going sideways, some of them are going down, and it's very hard to shape or stick the eyebrow down to a certain shape, because even this eyebrow gel is not strong enough to glue them to my face, but it still works. So what I do is I kind of just go in and put on product first. I don't really try to comb it out yet because, as I said, my hair doesn't like to stick down. It's very mischievous. Like, it just has a mind of its own. But essentially, I kind of just, like, see those hairs at the top? Like, they really don't want to stick down. But it's okay. It's okay. We don't need it to be perfect. I will say, though, even though it feels like it doesn't make a difference, I don't know why I haven't been using eyebrow gel for the longest time. I've really been missing out because I think eyebrow gel actually makes a pretty big difference. It just makes your brows look way more organized, and I was not using it for the longest time. But essentially, I put on that product, I let it sit for a little bit, let it dry down, and then I will go in with this pencil to kind of fill in any other sparse areas. This one is from Daiso. I would recommend this. It's like $3, super cheap, and it's pretty good. But we'll get into that in the next step. Next, I'm going to go in and curl my eyelashes. I'm using this curler. Don't know where I got it from, if I'm being honest with you. I've had it for forever. It's literally so old. I probably need a new one, but I don't know. I've just been using this for forever. I want to say that you can use any eyelash curler. However, there are some that are better than others. I will say that, and the other ones I've used just don't work as well. So this one, it does say Brilliant Beauty on there. I don't know if that helps, but that's the brand. I think it says Brilliant Beauty. Aside from that, I don't remember where I got it from. I don't remember if it was CVS or if it was Sephora or Ulta. I don't remember, but essentially I'm gonna go in and curl my lashes before I put on mascara. As you know, with Asian lashes, they go straight down. It's very hard for Asian lashes to hold a curl. That's something I always struggle with, because with my eyelashes, they are quite long. They're not the shortest eyelashes, however, they do go straight down, and I will say that the eyelash hairs are really thin. So that's with the lash curled. Now what I like to do is I like to go in with my favorite mascara of all time. I always go back to this brand. It's the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara drugstore brand. You can get it from CVS, Walgreens, Target. Super affordable. I have tried a lot of mascaras on the market, both expensive and cheap. I think the most I've ever paid for a mascara was about $70, and it was crap. I'm just gonna say it. Expensive doesn't always mean better. In some cases, expensive can be better, I will say that. But in a lot of cases, you can find products that are way cheaper that work even better or just the same. I would highly recommend this the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara for anyone who has skinny Asian lashes. It is honestly the best mascara I've ever used, and I've been going back to this for years. I do still try other mascaras, but my go-to mascara is definitely this one. As you can see, the wand is super skinny and it just works so well for anyone that has thin, sparse eyelashes. So highly recommend this for any of my Asian girlies. However, I don't know if it works as well on other lashes. I feel like it still would, if I'm being honest. Even if you have a thicker lash, I think it would still work very well. I don't have thick lashes, so I can't really for sure say, but you know, if you're of a different ethnicity and you use this, let me know how it works out for you. But what I can say for sure is that it will work for my Asian girlies for sure. So what I like to do is I like to go in with the first pass. So I kind of just start at the bottom, wiggle it to the top. And I like to try to do the mascara as fast as I can. You know, some days it looks better than others, and it all just depends on my application, how fast I do it. And yeah, sometimes you just have good lash days, and other times it's just an okay lash day. But essentially, I wiggle it up. I try to go at the top too, so I will bring it down and then wiggle it back up. And we're also gonna curl the lashes again once it dries down, but that will be at the very end. So that's the first pass of mascara. Now I like to let it sit and dry down for a little bit before I put the second coat. Usually I wait about 1 to 2 minutes. I would recommend waiting 1 to 2 minutes before you go in with the second pass. If you go in right away, it's just gonna not work as well. It's gonna pull some of that mascara off, and it's just not gonna work as well. So I usually like to wait 1 to 2 minutes before going in with the second pass. While I'm waiting, I'm gonna go in with that eyebrow pencil since that brow gel has dried down a bit. So I kind of just go in and fill in a little bit of the sparse areas with that eyebrow pencil lightly, trying to follow the shape of my eyebrow. And I go to the front and add like a few strokes there. Kind of just darken it up a little bit. Like I said, the tail end is always a struggle for me. The tail end just doesn't like to cooperate, but I do the best I can. I think every day my brows look different from the next day. I think that's the best we're gonna get. I don't know. I think I made them kind of thick today, but it's okay. It's okay. I know like the thick, fluffy eyebrows, it's been in for a while, so this eyebrow compared to this one, this looks like a caterpillar. This one over here is like baby caterpillar. Now that we've waited about 1.5 minutes, I'm gonna go in with the second coat of mascara. So same thing, I'm gonna brush it through and bring it up. You know, some people prefer like that clumpy mascara look and others don't. I don't really know how I feel about it. This is the second pass. As you can see already, my lashes have already started to want to go straight down again, especially with the mascara being on the eye. It's like, you know, a little bit heavier. But as you can see, this side has mascara, this side doesn't. I just still love this mascara. We're gonna let that dry down. I usually curl my eyelashes at the very end. Sometimes I even wait like an hour to curl them, just because I just think that you should wait until your eyelashes are dry before you curl them. Otherwise they're gonna stick to this, you're gonna rip them out. It's just not gonna be pretty. I'm gonna go in with this palette. This is the Bellini May Lucky, I cannot read. It's the Bellini Maybe Lucky palette. I think I got this from Ulta. It's been a while too since I've had this. I would show you guys the colors, but it is crumbling. So if I hold it up, all of this is gonna fall out. So I'll try to like post a video of it over here for you guys to look at what colors I'm using. But I've been going in with this Just Peachy color, and it's sort of a blush and a highlight at the same time. So I put that on this brush, which I use for my blush, and I tap it out. I kind of use it as somewhat of a bronzer in a way. I'm still playing around with contouring. I'm not that great at contouring, but I'm still playing around with contouring my face, because I have like a really small forehead and then a very long lower half of the face, and my face has always been quite big and wide, and then depending on if I gain weight or not, the weight always goes to my cheeks first. Like I've always had this baby fat, just chubby cheeks that like I've always had. Like it just never leaves. When I am very skinny, which I don't think is healthy, but when I am skinnier, I'm not like, when I say skinny, I mean like I used to be very skinny, like to the point of unhealthy. I was just stressed at the time, and I think my face got really skinny during that time. However, you know, I've kind of gained a little bit of that chunkiness back in my face, because whenever I gain weight, it goes straight to my face, my lower belly, and then to my chest. It never goes to my butt, like ever. I just don't have those genetics. It just always goes to my face first, and then my lower belly, and then my chest area. But regardless, I kind of just put a little bit of that. It's like an orange, it's sort of like an orange, like peachy color, as it's called, just peachy. And so I put that and I bring it into the middle, because I kind of like the sun-kissed look. And while we're at it too, like I'm gonna blend in this a little bit, that concealer that we had sitting there. I'm just gonna blend that in also. And like I said, see, like when you try to cover it more, you can still see it, because it's acne, it's raised, you know, it has texture, but it's fine. We're gonna leave it like that. What I like to do as well is I like to also go in with the peach of cake color. And like I said, I've been kind of using it as a contour. So what I'll do is I'll kind of like put it down here and bring it up. As I said, I'm still kind of playing around with contouring. I'm not that great at it, but I know with Asian contour it is different from, you know, American contour. I think for Americans, we like to contour like the cheekbone area, whereas with Asian contour, they like to kind of contour like this area, where they'll put like contour there, more like in this spot over here, like lower half, which I might do a video on just to try it out to see if it does make a difference, because I think Asians like to contour their face to look smaller, and in the US we like to contour our face to be more lifted. But essentially right now I'm just using the blush as a contour, sort of. So yeah, I go in with that first color, and then I do the peach of cake down here. I don't really put that much on my forehead because my forehead is already really small, so it just looks silly. But to kind of bring the colors together, instead of just having like this stark pale forehead, I do go in a little bit and just dab a little color towards the edge of my hairline to kind of make it look a little bit more sun-kissed versus just having that stark pale white forehead. So I just put a little bit there, not too much, like so. Pat that in, and then I kind of try to blend it into a little bit to my actual skin to make me look not as pale. So that's where we're at so far. Next I will go in with blush. It really depends on my mood that day. Sometimes I use different colors. I do tend to prefer red blushes over pink. I just think it gives you more of a natural look, in my opinion. Sometimes I like to play around with warm tones too, although I know a lot of people prefer cool tones, but I kind of like warm tones a little bit more. I just think it gives you more youth. But right now I'm using this Ink Velvet 02 in shade 02. I bought this from Amazon, super affordable, super cheap, but what I like to do is, it's actually for your lips, but you can use it as blush as well. But what I like to do is I like to put a little bit on my brush. And you don't need to put a lot, like you're gonna build it up. You can build it up. So I do have like, my brush is stained to the point where it doesn't come out, but essentially like this. And then I will dab it on, see that? And then I will blend it out. And I'll blend it out at the very end of my cheek, and then I'll bring it in also like under my eyes. And then I will just add more if I want more. So I just keep doing that. Little by little, I just keep adding more to what I like. I will say sometimes I go a little bit overboard with blush. Sometimes I put way too much on. But essentially, I bring it in because I like that sun-kissed look, and I kind of bring it to the bridge of my nose, and then, like I said, under the eyes a little bit, even lower on my cheek because I have such a wide, big face. And I also bring it a little bit on like the temple to kind of like bring that in, and then I put it on the other areas that I had put that other just peachy color. So that's what we're looking like so far. As you can see, this half of my face is pretty much done aside from the lips, and this half of my face, no makeup, no nothing. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the other half of my face, then I'll come back and we will curl the lashes, finish the lips, maybe do some slight nose contouring, and then yeah, finish off the look at that point. So what I'm gonna do now, I did go a little bit heavy on the blush. This is what I'm talking about. I tend to put a bit too much blush on, but I just love blush so much. I'm actually gonna add even more for like the bridge of my nose. So again, going in with that red velvet color, I'm just gonna start patting that like over my nose and onto here. And then what I also like to do is I like to put a little bit of that red color like on the bottom of my nose. I blend it like right here, like there, and I just blend it out with my finger. I'll probably also just like go in, do like a little contour with my finger here with that leftover color. And like right now you're seeing the contour a little bit more on this side because the lighting, like the light is hitting me over here a little bit more versus on the right side of my face. Because the window, I have a window to my left. Now if there's a shadow, you can kind of see it a little bit more, like where I'm sort of like blending in that contour, blush contour. But I usually try to keep it pretty simple, like this. So next I'm gonna go in with doing my lips. And this also varies. Sometimes if you're going for a more simple look, you can just do like the liner and then some gloss. Today I'm gonna do red liner and then a little bit of a gloss tint. So I like to use this NYX red lip pencil. And what I do is, I can't really talk while I'm doing this, I'll just show you guys. I'll go in and line the bottom. And then as you can see, like my right side of my lip is a little bit lopsided, like there's a little bit of space here, and the left side of my lips are just a little bit fuller. So what I like to do is I try to match the right side to kind of match the left side a little bit more. So I kind of try to overline the right side a bit more. And then I don't bring it all the way down. I kind of just do like this outline, and then I'll do like a little X here, and then a little line there. And then what I like to do next is I like to go in with Vaseline. So I prefer Vaseline over chapstick. Always been a Vaseline girly. Right now I'm using just regular Vaseline, but I do think the baby Vaseline is even better. However, I haven't opened this yet, so I don't want to waste product, so I'm just going to go in with regular Vaseline. And I kind of just blend it in with my finger, like this. So yeah, I just kind of blend it in with my finger so the line is not as harsh. And then I kind of like rub my lips together a little bit like that. And at this point, you can kind of just leave it like this and do like a gloss on top, which actually I might do. Sometimes I will go in with this lip jelly, but I feel like it might be a little bit intense. I think I'm also gonna go in with a little bit of this Peach Please color on the tip of my nose, a little bit more, and just kind of like blend that with my brush and like the sides of my nose. Like so. Okay, so I am back for the finishing makeup touches. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might add a little lip color. Although I don't know, I kind of like this lip color and I don't want to ruin it, but I think a little won't hurt. So I'm just going to put a little, like more in the middle, and just smack my lips together like so. And as it sits on the lips, it will change into like more of an apple-y color. This is this Milk Touch product. I actually bought this from TJ Maxx for about $8 and I love it. It's a jelly lip tint. I've actually filmed a video on it before, and the interesting thing about it is that the longer you let it sit on your lips, it kind of changes into like a deeper color. I don't know how to explain it, but I love it. Curl the lashes. And I like to hold for like, you know, 5 seconds or so, and then kind of do this motion after holding it, and then I take it out like that. And you can already see the difference from this eye versus this eye. And yeah, my hair is a little bit frizzy right now, but if you guys watched my heatless curls video, you'll see that I kind of like don't mind the frizz. I think it kind of gives it like a natural cute look. But you can, as I mentioned in the other video, use like some oil to tone that down a little bit, but I like it. I like it. So I usually curl it a few times, and this is also one of the reasons why I don't really love this eyeliner, because it kind of smudges off, so I have to go back in and touch it up sometimes. I mean, a good way to avoid this is you could just use liquid eyeliner. However, I find it easier to shape with a regular eyeliner, and that's why I don't use liquid eyeliner all the time. So that is with the lashes curled. I'm also gonna add a little bit to my lower lashes. Just add a little bit to the lower lash. So I went ahead and added some mascara to the lower lashes, not too much. And I actually forgot this step, but I sometimes add fake freckles. You can't really see them because I've kind of like covered it up, but essentially I do have like some tiny freckles, not too many, mostly like around my eye area here. I have freckles, but I like to go in and just kind of make them more seen. I might insert a picture so you guys can see it better with like no makeup here. So I kind of just go in and darken those up a little bit, and then I also add a little bit more. And I like to use I use a lip liner, like a brown lip liner, to add my freckles, However, if you want them to stay all day, obviously you're gonna want to use like setting spray, which I don't like to use, or you can also use a brown liquid eyeliner as well, or you could just use like a freckle pen, but I don't have that, so I honestly think this works just fine. So what I'll do is I will just go in and kind of like dot like this lightly, and then I'll make this darker like that, and then I add some to like the bridge of my nose, you know, kind of just like everywhere, like super light. Some of them I make darker and I will like pat it in with my finger. If you like, you can also add like a little like shimmery like highlight in the inner corners if you want, like that. I don't always do it, but sometimes I do. I just put like a little dab there like that, and then sometimes I will put like a little bit on my nose, but it's not like essential. And last step is setting powder. So again, I'm going to go in with the Ilia setting powder, and I will just put some on my brush, and I will just pat it pretty much like all over my face. So I'll pat some like on my forehead, especially because that's where I'm the oiliest. And I don't mind like a little shine though, because I think it gives like sort of a natural healthy glow. So I just put like a little bit, not too much, to kind of pat some stuff down. So that is my finished everyday makeup look. I might try to include some small clips of the makeup, maybe a little bit more up close. However, I don't like to do those types of clips. Not that I haven't done them before, because I have, but I do find them kind of cringy and awkward to film. However, I will try to include a very small montage of the makeup look up close for you guys, and I'll put that at the end. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye!
She wanna be in love, ay, ay, ay. She need to let it go, ay, ay.